Peter, you believe that in any well-functioning organization, anyone ought to feel free to give anyone else feedback.
That's absolutely right.
We're talking here about your staff, members of your team, colleague, customers, even a boss?
Especially a boss. I mean, in today's business, everyone's talking about empowerment. Now, I think if a manager is genuine about talking about empowerment, he or she will welcome an employee giving feedback.
Probably one of the most difficult situations to handle is when someone just plain disagrees with what you're saying. Now, how would you handle that one?
Well, it depends a lot on what it is that they're disagreeing with. And in fact, let me show you an example. Now, in this particular clip, Jim wants to give his boss, Sue, some feedback about how she runs meetings. Listen to what she's disagreeing with.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the meetings that you've been conducting lately.
Okay.
I just want to share some feedback with you. I want to give you some feedback. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great. One of the things I've noticed that's been happening is that the meetings seem to be going overtime.
I don't think we're going overtime.
Well, this morning when I attended, the meeting went 20 minutes overtime. It was scheduled to go till 10 and it went till 10:20.
Well, we started a bit later and some group members came in late, so we had to have a later ending.
Yeah, but then last week's meeting, which was an afternoon meeting, went almost a half an hour late.
Now, can you see what Sue is disagreeing with?
She's disagreeing in this instance that the meetings are running overtime.
That's exactly right. She's disagreeing with the facts. And the way Jim is handling that situation is by giving examples, evidence, illustrations to back up what he's saying. Let me show you a little bit more of the same clip.
One of the other things that I'm a little bit concerned about is that people seem to be going off on a lot of tangents during the meetings.
No, we're not going off on tangents.
Well, again, as an example, this morning while I was there, rather than discuss the pilot program report, which is due in 10 days, the meeting seemed to suddenly get into accounts receivables and delinquent accounts and those sorts of things.
So when you're giving feedback and the person disagrees with the facts that you're telling them, then you need to really give more examples, more evidence.
That's exactly right, yes.
But what if you agree with the facts, but you disagree about whether there is a problem or not? What if this time Sue agrees with Jim that people are going off on tangents at this meeting, but she disagrees with him that it's a problem?
Well, another thing that I want to discuss with you is it seems to me that people are going off on a lot of tangents during the meeting.
Well, there's a big, diverse group. There are a lot of issues being covered, and that's okay. I think it's important for us to cover many different topics.
Well, but you are on a deadline. You do have to you do have to get this pilot program report done in what, 10 days?
Right. Well, I understand that. The fact of the matter is, as a group is getting together to share ideas, it's going to come together real soon.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm a little bit concerned that it hasn't come together enough already.
Now, what Jim was doing this time was that he was explaining to Sue why going off on tangents was a problem. He was clarifying with her the consequences of her behavior.
It's important to hear their ideas, and I still think that a lot of the issues brought up were okay.
Okay, but would you agree that in order to meet the deadline, you need to meet some intermediate deadlines so that you don't end up, against the wall at the very end to get this report done?
Yes, I agree with you there.
And would you agree that maybe staying a little more focused might help you do that?
Yes.
I can see here how explaining the consequences of behavior gets the other person to agree with your feedback.
Yes, that's right. I guess the important thing to remember is that if you're giving someone feedback and they're disagreeing with what you're saying, what you have to do is you have to work out what it is that they're disagreeing with. If they're disagreeing with the facts of what you're saying, you have to give them more evidence, more examples, more illustrations to back up what you're saying. If, on the other hand, they're disagreeing with whether a problem exists or not, what you have to do is explain to them why it's a problem. You have to point out the consequences of their behaviour. We've seen a range of advanced skills for giving feedback in difficult situations.
But are these hard skills to learn and to do well?
Well, I think any skill, whether it's giving feedback, learning to ride a bicycle, learning to play tennis, is going to require practice before you get really expert at it. And I think these skills are exactly the same. You need to practice them. You need to realise that you will make some mistakes, and that's okay. But eventually you'll become confident and you'll become empowered to use them.
And these would be skills that are particularly useful for team members.
Absolutely. I mean, in the old days, it would have been just managers and bosses. But these days, with teams, with self-directed teams, I think these are skills that absolutely everyone needs.